Hello, friends. Today is Tuesday, October 23rd, and we're here to bring you some spooky Level 1 news.
Is that your version of, hey guys, what's up?
Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe.
Once again, Wendell not with us. He is he's gone to a working group. They're focused on making a gender neutral form of the PCI connectivity. I think the world is ready.
I thought he was suffering for the company in Florida.
No.
No.
He's we're going to put an end to slot shaming.
How long were you thinking that joke up?
I just came up with it just now. In our first story, as we often do, we will start by talking about Ajit Pai.
Look at him. Ajit Pai killed the rules that would have helped Florida recover from the hurricane. He was criticizing Verizon, which is ironic considering everything about Ajit Pai.
Is it sponsored by Verizon? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. He almost never criticizes them, but he was criticizing them.
So the problem is we had, in case you don't follow the U.S. weather, had a couple of hurricanes.
A major one on the Gulf in the Florida Panhandle.
And it caused some damage, caused considerable damage with the technology and communications infrastructure. And some people still don't have internet. How long ago was that?
I think it was almost 2 weeks ago.
Can you imagine?
A lot of them don't even have like basic stuff though, like water. I mean,
internet is basic.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
So he was criticizing, saying, "Hey, you guys aren't doing enough. You got to get these people their infrastructure back. They got to have that internet." But it's pointed out by several people that Ajit Pai himself was responsible for deregulating the requirement for ISPs to restore all that service in a timely fashion in the event of a disaster.
Oops.
Ouch. Also pointed out is that Verizon's systematic deconstruction of the copper infrastructure in order to promote their FiOS nonsense further lends problems when you have this kind of thing, because now if you don't have wireless, you don't have anything.
RIP.
Ouch. A problem. And to compound Ajit Pai's worries when it comes to his two-facedness, lies.
His constant struggles. New York Attorney General expands inquiry into net neutrality comments. You guys probably remember us talking about this several times, where they had the big open forum where people could talk about whether they wanted net neutrality or not. And then it was revealed that like 90% of the comments were fake.
And they said that they were DDoSed.
Yeah.
Also proven to be fake. Well, the Attorney General has used Freedom of Information to get those records. And according to her team, there were about 4 messages in total, just repeated over and over. And they were identical. When you filter those out, everything left over is about 90% positive.
Yeah.
They've also tracked down lobby groups as the most probable source for all of these things. Although, interestingly enough, there were actually some pro-net neutrality lobby groups that were spamming. But they seem to be completely drowned out by the other guys.
I could see that.
They were trying to cheat, but they weren't nearly as good at cheating. Not even close.
What's going to happen after this? Probably nothing.
Well, New York, they seem very determined to go after them. I don't know. New York, they had remember the great headline? They were like, "We're throwing charter out of the state." They didn't.
Yeah.
So
nothing, no consequences.
It's amazing press for this Attorney General. So let's hope that she actually follows through. We'll see. At least we get a little bit of the truth, if nothing else, right?
That's true.
So that's probably more worthwhile than anything else that she's doing as her Attorney Generalship. Well, we talked about the TSA, and they're making things easier. How are they making things easier? By tracking everything about you.
We reported on this recently where the TSA is going to do biometric scanning, but they were only going to do it for the fast pass people. Pre-check, that's right. But now they're going to do it to everybody. So now all of us get to suffer through this.
Yeah. Now, pre-check people, they'll be biometrically scanned and then passed on through. Regular plebs will be biometrically scanned. And then they'll still have to go through the questions and the beatings and the patting down and all that other sorts of things. The groping.
It's almost like they're just building a database of all that information.
It seems like it. And they're actually going to use the pre-check income, because you pay for that privilege, to pay for everybody else's biometric scanning. So thanks, pre-check people.
You know what Fast Pass is? It's when you go on a roller coaster and you have the Fast Pass, you can go in the other line. That's what I was thinking.
Well, Easy Pass is where you go through tolls. And you pay
yeah.
Yeah, so all the good names are taken.
So they had to go with
Pre-check.
Pre-check, which I
and
can't
anytime,
even remember.
Even when you see it in print, it's pre and then the little check mark.
Oh.
Not.
There's probably like a brand guideline that's very specific about that. Like never use the word check.
Well, this week we have our first of what we have to have every week, and that is a data breach.
RIP. Pentagon reveals cyber breach of travel records. Sad. Sad.
So, yeah, if you traveled and you work for the Pentagon, your travel records might have been leaked. This was a third-party company, but that doesn't really help much, does it?
No, considering how many contractors the Pentagon probably works with.
And some of which might be sensitive. You know, that might be sensitive information that someone could get a hold of and know that you might be going back to that place. Or, you know, like maybe you're going to Saudi Arabia to cover up a murder. Yeah?
Well, you know, that's just part of your job.
Yeah, you don't know what you get. So, very dangerous. And number 2, data breach comes from another government website.
HealthCare.gov, everybody's favorite healthcare website, suffers data breach exposing 75,000 consumers. So they wouldn't reveal what was actually leaked in this, though. Like,
yeah.
It has to be medical stuff, though. Like, right?
I know they were very tight-lipped about it. I imagine the best case scenario is just whatever you put in to start looking for coverage, right? So probably, do you put your social in?
See, I went through the healthcare marketplace thing, and I don't think I had to, but I don't remember. It's been so long.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
it's a garbage website either way.
Bad idea. Remember when they built that website and it was 20 million lines of code for just a little marketplace lookup thing? Yeah. And it was like
as far as I know, there's no e-commerce on it. Like I got it from some third-party source.
Yeah, I think it passes you off. It's really just aggregating and
all the different plans from other places.
It was just a big bloat project. And then they threw all that away and started over. So, yeah, that's been great for the country.
It's good use of money. And I'm sure whatever contractor built that is rolling in money.
Oh, yeah. Well, they looked at their background and they were well connected. I can't remember what the name of the place was. But business as usual. What's not business as usual is Vermont. Vermont has decided to strike back and fight against the evils of the repeal of net neutrality on a state level. And some people don't like that.
I was just going to read it out. Internet provider groups sue Vermont over net neutrality law.
Now this includes, let's list the offenders here.
Scroll on down.
AT&T.
Surprise.
Comcast.
You.
Verizon.
Also you.
And all the lobby groups that are associated with them.
They ain't got no Appalachian Wireless in Vermont.
Appalachian Wireless is
a treasure.
It's terrible service, completely overpriced, but you have to respect the genius because they looked at this little piece of scrappy mountainside and they were like, you know what? Someday the internet's going to come here no matter what. We should buy the rights to it immediately.
And they did. You see ads for it all over the place.
They're rich people now. And no, they don't just have the wireless. They have the cable too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Never looked into their packages. Not been interested in maybe becoming a customer of Appalachian Wireless, but
you know, it's funny because it's like 10 megabit. You know, it's garbage and it's expensive, but you can get it in the deepest holler.
Yeah.
Whereas here, you go just a little bit outside of town, they're like, no,
there's nothing. Yeah,
we're not doing anything for you.
Did you tell the people here in the Good News Channel that you have bought a house?
Which was inspected yesterday, and I backed out as like running from a fire.
Oh, so you're not getting it?
Not getting it.
Oh, wow! I didn't know that. So that's news to me too.
Yeah.
Let's take a break from the news. Just a little segment. You can skip ahead in a minute.
Oh, you want to itemize?
List all the items that were wrong with the house.
Electrical had to be rebuilt
from the ground up.
The panel was like about to burst into flame. Right. Every faucet except for one leaked. Every toilet except for one had some sort of deficiency. Both balconies were built incorrectly and were eventually going to fall down.
So you would have had to tear those off.
what were the other things? I don't know. I mean,
the electrical is the biggest concern. Like, that's a lot of money.
There's like a 20-page report that you can look at it if you want. But yeah, it was all the cracks in the foundation, mold. Oh. There was some mold in the basement.
Well,
the best one. Here's the best one. The dryer didn't vent.
Where did it go?
In the room.
Oh no.
Yeah, there was no hole, so I would have to relocate the dryer. Yeah.
If just like one or two of those problems probably wouldn't have been a big deal, but like
just
literally everything
just kept getting worse.
So. Oh, that sucks. So you're back on the house hunt for a house with internet that's not next to people.
I've got another prospect though. I'm gonna go look at maybe tomorrow.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Chat, even though you're not the chat.
Well, speaking of disappointments, let's talk about Louis Rossman. Every time we talk about Louis Rossman, there's somebody in the comments like, "Oh my God, Louis Rossman!
He's my favorite.
I watch Louis. You watch that too? You like money? I like money." And don't do that, please. So Louis Rossman, if you don't know about him, if you're not part of that crowd, he's a very popular Apple repair guy. He makes YouTube videos about them. And he predicted the last time someone interviewed him, he was like, they're losing the right to repair battle because he's the big right to repair guy. And the next thing they're going to start doing, and we've actually covered this before, is they're going to use counterfeit laws to prevent Apple repair people from bringing in parts. And guess what?
That's exactly what happened. DHS seized aftermarket Apple laptop batteries from independent repairman Louis Rossman.
Expert, not man. How dare you downgrade his...
He could be, repair person.
Also gendering.
Yeah, how dare I?
So yeah, he ordered $1,000 worth of laptop batteries, got them shipped in from China because Apple doesn't sell parts. Everybody knows that, right? Which
seems like a lost opportunity for them, but that's another discussion.
DHS seized them seemingly at the behest of Apple. Like it seemed like Apple called up the DHS and they're like, "Listen, peasants, go and get these hard drives and confiscate them." And they did. And here's the amazing thing about it. The laptops in question, I don't know what model it was, but they are considered vintage. Apple would call these vintage.
Which means old. You're not...
Well, to put it more bluntly, planned obsolescence. This is a laptop that Apple considers no longer a part of the Apple world. You shouldn't be using it because only an idiot would keep an Apple computer for that many years, right? Time to trade up. So
everyone's going to think you're not cool anymore, and that's why you buy an Apple product.
So if you have one of these and you're like, well, listen, man, I'm going to go to the Genius Bar like Apple tells me because I'm a good Apple citizen. I'm not one of these dissidents that goes to Louis Rossman, these renegades. Well, the geniuses will turn your ass around and send you packing because it's a vintage item. They don't work on them.
Bad news if you're an Apple consumer today.
Which you deserve.
Well, it's probably bad news for everybody because they've set a precedent now that you can do this with...
Well, Apple is, they're the most aggressive for sure. But, if it's... So Apple says if it's got an Apple logo on it and they don't approve of it, that's counterfeit. And the government seems to agree. Well, remember Equifax?
No. No one else does either.
Pepperidge Farm remembers Equifax.
It's a vintage
meme.
That
was, what was that, 2 years ago? Or was that this year? I don't even remember.
I think that's almost 2 years ago now.
So they had the big breach.
Forever ago.
And it was famous, the breach. Well, why don't you read the title?
Equifax engineer who designed breach portal gets 8 months of house arrest for insider trading.
So yeah, when that breach happened, they decided not to tell us about it.
Yeah, they knew it was there.
We shouldn't tell anybody about this. Instead, let's start building up a way to protect ourselves. And one of the things they did, they started working on the portal so that you could go and look and see if anything was found out about you before they told us, before they told anybody. And this guy, he worked for them, and they came to him and they were like, "Hey, one of our clients got hacked. Why don't you build this portal?" Well, this guy was a smart cookie. And he said, "You know what? This is not a client. This is us." And he went to he used his wife's trading account because, you can get away with it if you use your wife's account.
I've got the worst attorneys.
And he used his wife's account and he bought some out-of-the-money puts for Equifax stock. And what do you know? I think it was an increase in the thousands of percentage 3,500% increase he made.
Basically, he made a lot of money.
He made $75,000 from a $3,000 investment. Oh, $2,000. And
Pretty good return.
yeah, well, that's insider trading. So he's had to give it all back, and he will be on house arrest for some time, which is more punishment than anybody involved in the Equifax leak got.
8 months on house arrest. That almost, in some circles, that would be considered, a reward.
You got to think he's probably talented enough he could work from home. He could figure something out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what if he's got kids, though? Ooh.
Kids probably go to school or daycare every now and then if him and his wife are both working.
Yeah, but now he's at home. So there's no reason to waste money on childcare. Now he just has to do it. I hope he has a house full of them. I hope he has like 8 kids and 5 dogs. And every moment is excruciating. Actually, I don't know why I feel bad about. I mean, he's not the bad guy here.
Yeah, not really. I mean, yes, but also.
Of course, if you were on the other side of those puts, you'd probably disagree.
Yeah.
Well, we've all got smart homes now, right? With any luck at all, I'm going to be populating a home soon, I hope. And the question is, how do you avoid these Internet of Things abominations?
Wendell wants to hook your whole he wants to make Ryan's house a project for Level 1.
Yeah, we're probably not going to do that. Well, it made more sense when I was going to demolish a bunch of stuff, but that's out the window now.
Well, you could still demolish whatever house you buy.
I could, but that would be wasteful. Okay, so the question is, all of these things, everything's spying on you now. So what if the cops want that data?
They can now get it. Well, to be fair, these smart home tech makers don't want to say if the feds come for your data, which means you should probably assume that they've come for your data and they already have it.
Yeah, and they probably have like a one phone call policy of yes, just call us up and we will give you that. Don't worry about the warrant. We'll do that later.
Which is crazy because you're paying for the privilege of having the hardware and the convenience. Just
like the biometrics. Look at Facebook,
Well, at Facebook, you're not actually paying for. That's the difference. They always say, if you're not really paying anything, then you're the product. Whereas in this case, you're actually buying a product.
That's true, yeah.
And you're still getting screwed.
But, they're double dipping, triple dipping. So they're selling you the product, they're selling the data, and then they're probably charging a fee to the feds when they come and want the history
to
investigate you. Because AT&T was doing that for years with the phone spying. Fascinating stuff. So
sad day.
Maybe stay away from the Internet of Things. But it's difficult. I've been looking at appliances, and
are all of them smart now?
A lot of them are smart, let me tell you.
I don't want to feel upstaged in my own home by my refrigerator. I want that thing dumb as rocks.
Well, here's why don't you just introduce this one?
Bell and Rogers asked government to simplify site blocking and criminalize streaming. Not just some streaming, all streaming. What?
Yeah, well, they don't. They're talking about copyright material.
Yeah.
But criminalize is the key word there.
Yeah.
It's not a criminal matter. Streaming some sort of Disney movie. Okay, if they want to come after you financially, okay. But are we really going to lock people up for sending ones and zeros out into the ether?
Streaming Ariel live on Twitch.
So, what? Ariel live?
Yeah, Ariel like that. Or Little Mermaid. Never mind.
Oh.
Clearly you're not a fan of classic Disney.
But you're saying the movie Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you didn't. I don't know her name. I do know her name, but it didn't register. Anyway, Bell and Rogers. So they had this this court hearing, and the court hearing was to talk about copyright and how more money was going to go to the creators, right? Because remember last week Trump had his I can't remember what he called it, but it was the music law that he changed.
Oh yeah, shoot, I can't remember the name of that either. This
was supposed to be similar to that, where it's like, okay, let's talk about how the little people are going to get paid better for all this kind of stuff, and the ISPs, who are also media companies, which is a problem, spent the whole time talking about criminalizing streaming and blocking sites because The reason the little people aren't getting paid are those evil pirates.
I like to imagine that whoever was like the head of that meeting was trying to redirect them back to like, okay, but you guys promised you would start paying more, and we've got some evidence here. And then they're like, pirates, and they just like scream and throw their hands down on the table.
Well, you can read the excerpts there, and they really did. Like, they kept dressing them down. They were like, I don't know what you're talking about. We're not here to talk about that. Okay, fine. Pirates are bad. Everybody agrees. Let's talk about this other thing. And then these people were just like, I'm sorry, but we can't.
I'm real worked up about it.
As long as these pirates are acting, we can't give anybody anything. There's just nothing, because it's all being stolen. It's been proven over and over that most pirates wouldn't buy it anyway. I would say that 90% of the stuff that I may have pirated over the years, I'm not saying I did.
You never would.
Hypothetically. Like, I think I would either wait a very long time until physical media was very cheap, or just go without it. You know what?
Yeah.
I can live without Game of Thrones as much as I enjoy it. I would just live without it. Or I'd get a box set on Craigslist, Now, I'd start watching season 1 now for like $10. Well, when you talk about copyright and government and, just stamping down on your neck, no country, anywhere, maybe China, but even China doesn't really care about copyright. They just care about free speech. But when it comes to copyright, there's the number one game in suppressing freedoms.
I can't even read from this far back.
Oh my God, what is wrong with you?
I was going to read the title and I was like all ready to go because that was a good setup, and then I just was like, I can't. I like squinted and had to lean
You
out.
have a serious problem.
This site has terrible. Look how small the headlines are on this site compared to some of the others.
Okay.
This is tech.
So it's Australia is the answer there. And Australia, they have, so the headline is, as predicted, Australian government looks to creep site censorship into search censorship.
Which we've already seen with China, as we mentioned before. And now they want to do that in Australia.
But again, China doesn't care about copyright. China just wants you to not, they don't want
not
you
to
learning,
criticize the government or search for Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, they don't want you learning about freedom.
Yeah.
They don't care if you steal things. But in Australia, they actually have site blocking. So if somebody complains and they're like, hey, somebody's giving away my copyright material and here's the site, the government will just send out to the ISPs. They're like, hey, block it, bro. But because it's the internet and it's easy to make copies of sites, they just get a new domain or they put up a proxy somewhere. And guess what? That bypasses it. And you got to go through the whole process again. So the media companies are saying, gosh, this is too hard. We need to suppress this at the search engine level so that no one can find this evil, even if they try to change its name.
Which, obviously we know Google will play ball with that because they're trying to implement that in China. Do you think that they can do that with every search engine? Will it become a game now of not just, you don't just Google something, you go to, if you're searching for certain things, you go to Bing or Ask Jeeves or
I've seen
DuckDuckGo or whatever that is.
I've definitely seen people predict that the internet could split into 2, possibly 3 internets in the coming years, because there's going to be one that's kind of Western and one that's Chinese and maybe one that's Russian, or maybe the Russian Chinese will be together. So, and then maybe Australia gets its own as well. Which, that's exactly what the creators of the internet imagined.
Yeah.
When they created the World Wide Web.
We're not going to see memes from other countries now.
Well, you're certainly not going to if you're Australian. And you know what else you're not going to see? Is
the drop bear.
The best thing about GTA.
Grand Theft Auto cheats, homes are rated. So if you're someone who has the cheats or was building the cheats, your homes can get rated. This was also in Australia, correct?
Right.
RIP. I was sad about this because
it really is the most fun.
It really is the fun. Like when you're playing multiplayer and someone like spawns in 100 wildcats on top of you, that's hilarious. That's funny every time.
But to be fair, you and I, the way we play GTA, we don't really care what happens. Right? We're just
there to take a Sunday drive.
Just a sandbox, having some fun. People keep sniping you and you're like, oh, look at that. My character's dying.
Yeah.
It's funny. Some people, I imagine, are very serious about it. And those people, I guess it's not fair to them that they're losing. But more importantly, people aren't buying shark cards when you're showering them with money.
That's true.
And that's what the GTA people care about. So they won't, supposedly, or yet, maybe we should say, they won't come after you for purchasing the cheat and using it, you will get banned. They won't kick down your door. But if you create the cheats and sell them, they will come after you.
How much did they say? The cheats were running for what, $30?
I think 30 US, 40 and whatever ridiculous currency they use over there.
Kangaroo money, I think.
It's just
Kangaroo
called the
feet.
Australian dollar.
Roofie.
How sad if your country has to precede its dollar with the name of the country, because everybody knows who the real dollar is.
Just dabbed on Australia.
I'm killing time. I'm trying to delay because this site won't load.
Yeah, it's not. This is typical. We actually already had a crash of the browser tab earlier, and I'll take a drink awkwardly into the mic.
Sad. I don't want to do this story without...
I don't even remember what story this was now.
This is the Russians.
Not the Russians. Oh, look, it's just... Is it redirecting the homepage? Oh,
No.
There's the article.
Here we go. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember this. Russian spacewalk to investigate air leak causing hole in the space station rescheduled for December. This is kind of interesting because I seem to remember that it was the Russians who they thought drilled a hole through the wall of the space station.
It was their capsule.
Yeah.
For sure. But the Russians are saying it's the Americans.
And now we'll never know.
Well, we have to wait till December at least. So they were scheduled to spacewalk, and now they can't do that because the launch failed. We had the, they were trying to take the pod up, and there was a collision on the boosters. And they had to abandon.
Oh.
So now they get their supply ship. So can you imagine, like, how much fear do those guys have to live in that a hot war breaks out between the U.S. and Russia?
And then it's like, we're just up here.
Yeah.
Hey, we need a supply drop. We're running out of food.
And
Hello?
And what's going to happen, right? And then, so if the Russian ship comes up, are they going to abduct the Americans?
I thought there were, I know it probably would change in war, but, I thought there were rules against, everyone's supposed to work together and be friendly. And
there's rules against murdering ambassadors and poisoning people with polonium, too. Well, there's rules against spying and all those kinds of things. So, yeah.
Obviously, so they would be fine, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Maybe we could trade them. Maybe they'd be, bartered for enemies.
Like their bodies
POWs.
after they're dead because they don't have any food?
No, because we would have some, POWs at that point. Trade them out. But here's hoping that doesn't happen. If not only for the ISS people, but also the rest of humanity.
If you're filling out your Level 1 news bingo card right now, this is the darkest timeline. You can go on and put a check mark on that.
Yeah, the guy tweeted the drinking game.
There's a drinking game linked on our Twitter.
There's so many Wendell catchphrases though.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
I think it's too extreme of a drinking game. You have to do sips, I think.
Well, this guy was like, oh, take a whole shot, take 2 shots. And I was like, oh, dude, no.
Yeah. Maybe
that's too much. I don't want to die.
Maybe like beer shots. Well, switching over to hardware and a little bit of software news, the big story this week has to be correct. Has to be the i9 9900K.
And I'm sure you'll be seeing all kinds of coverage from Wendell about this. He's in Florida right now to discuss.
That is not what I stated that Wendell was doing this week.
Yeah. You're wrong.
We'll see.
We'll see what Wendell says.
Well, Hot Hardware has beat him to the punch because they've already done some pretty exhaustive benchmarking. And it turns out, is the i9 9900K the top dog? Kind of. Only for, single-threaded performance? Well, single-threaded performance is very good. And in gaming, it does edge out the Threadripper stuff at 1080. Now, at 4K, it's pretty much a dead heat. I think actually at 4K, one of the Threadrippers beat it by 1 frame per second. So obviously, this is garbage. Well, it's a great processor. I don't think you can take anything away from it. The other thing about it is it has some hardware hardening against Spectre and Meltdown. So this is one of the first generations of chips where they're actually trying to fix it at the hardware level. I don't think it's total, but maybe better. It's a step. Now, the problem is, as you can see right here, right now on Amazon, this is going to cost you $579.99. I think the Threadripper goes for about $350. That sounds so right. You're getting basically the same performance, if you average everything out.
And $300 cheaper. That's
quite a bit. Not quite 300.
Well, okay. Actually, I guess you know what, you're just cutting it off so that way someone in the YouTube comments isn't like, actually it wasn't quite $300. It would be like this much.
Well, listen, Kristen, maybe your riches mean a sum of something like $50 to $75 is meaningless. But to the rest of us, that means something.
I was just rounding. That's a math skill I learned in school. One of the few ones I remember.
When you get your new Intel processor, as many of you surely will, because you all seem to upgrade relentlessly for no apparent reason, you're going to want a new GPU as well, right? Well, have caution.
Careful. You could get a fraud. But luckily, there's a way to tell if you have a fraud. GPU-Z can now detect fake NVIDIA graphics cards. And look at this little cute UI. Danger.
Regular kind, danger. Copy. It also puts the word fake in the name up here.
Which, I mean, that has to hurt after you spend all your money on your new graphics card. And it's like, oh.
Yeah. So what's happening here is mostly in China, someone will get a crappier NVIDIA card, overwrite the BIOS to give it a name of a better NVIDIA card, and sell it on, like an eBay type site. So you can now check against that.
But
probably
not
can't,
until after you've already ordered it.
Yeah, probably not going to be able to do anything about it, but at least you'll know. If at least you won't be like, these NVIDIA cards are trash. No, it's not them.
Or, maybe it is. But you'll be able to tell with this program.
Well, if you do any kind of development work, you probably use some sort of version control. And GitHub is the popular one, although after its recent acquisition by Microsoft, a lot of rats got off that ship. But they're trying to bring you back with new features.
GitHub now launches Actions, its workflow automation tool. You can add files that will let you, see if someone's checked in. You can get an email if someone's checked in. All kinds of neat little
basically
things like that.
Anything you can put in a Docker file, you can assign to a task. And they're saying it's going to revolutionize how you automate your workflow, your development workflows.
This is a terrifying idea if you're have a crazy project manager, though, because, they'll be getting emailed about literally everything.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was...
set that up.
Remember the Japan, I think, created that software. It was like Slack, except every entry emailed everybody and text messaged everybody. And if you did,
someone's going to set that up, and then they're going to be like, remove Actions, I don't want it.
And if you didn't respond within a certain amount of time, you got a bad report. So, it didn't matter if it was in the middle of the night or weekends
or if it
whatever.
was even relevant to you.
Exactly, yeah. And it showed whether or not you read them and when you read them.
Seen.
So if you didn't even open it, that was real bad. So you can build that all now on GitHub. Won't that be nice?
God, that would make me so angry because it's such a waste of time if it's not something you need to be involved in. It's like, let me stop what I'm doing to read these 20 messages that just came in. Oh, wait, none of them are for me.
Well, one other thing that you might be busy with when you can't answer your messages is playing some hot battle royale action and using the Discord app to chat with your friends while doing so.
Well, and it's not chatting so much as strategizing the best way to win, because I play to win.
Right.
You know how good I am at those games.
I like your strategy of holding down the horn in every vehicle that you get in.
Yeah,
PUBG.
well, it's an intimidation factor.
Right, psychological warfare.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
Anyway, Discord's new terms of service say users can't sue. This is a shady move by Discord, but it's not enough for me to hate it yet. I still love Discord.
It is awfully convenient.
It is so convenient.
Yeah.
And it has so many nice features. It's probably spying on literally everything you type, but...
Yeah, and we do have our Level 1 text Discord, and we've got the PGP Discord, which, that's a boring place sometimes, let me tell you.
Which, you read mostly the PGP one. I try to check in on both.
Well, sometimes they'll get real aspy, arguing about motherboards, and, it's like, I have this, and, I'm thinking about getting this, and it's just like, dear God.
Oh, don't get them started on alcohol. There's a bunch of people are going to show up and be like...
Keyboards.
Ooh, yeah.
Wow.
My boyfriend's a keyboard person. You get him started on him.
You know, like a lot of people, they'll be like, hey, when are you guys going to do a meetup? And it's like, that's just going to be a human version of the Discord. And I can't close the window.
I feel like we could do a meetup, but I feel like we would be disappointing.
Oh, yeah.
To meet.
Yeah, we don't have the...
we don't have the charisma.
Well, I don't think a lot of people would show up.
The chutzpah. we don't have the chutzpah for, this, like, prolonged socialization.
Look that one up.
It's a Yiddish word, right?
Well, that's all we've got for today. Tomorrow, we'll be looking at some business and social media. How exciting is that?
Super exciting. You should like, favorite, and subscribe and share this video to show how excited you are.
We have confirmed that you can't favorite, right?
Favorite a video?
Right.
Yeah. We could add it to a playlist of liked videos, I guess, but it's not the same.
But if you like it, it automatically goes into liked videos.
Yeah, into your folder. Anyway, have a great day.
Try anyway. Call up YouTube and be like, listen, I need a favorite feature because I have so much favoritism to show toward my favorite channel.
But YouTube will be too busy trying to figure out what caused the meltdown the other day. Spoiler for next episode.
No, I didn't even put that in there.
Oh, we should include it.
But I mean, it's over now. How long did it last? A couple hours?
Yeah. It was an hour.
We'll talk about it.
All right. Bye. Today is October 24th, and it's another episode of the Level 1 News without Wendell.
Today we'll be doing business and social media. And yes, Wendell not with us. Wendell undergoing emergency detox for RTX. Sad.
It's thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts, T-H-O-T. Thought.
Let's talk about Amazon.
Amazon worker pushes, I can't read the headline because you cut it off.
It's not my fault. It's the Hill.
With their massive text. I love it. Amazon worker pushes Bezos to stop selling facial recognition tech to law enforcement. They make it sound like it's just one worker, but it's one worker who started it, and now everyone's kind of banding behind him. He's like, yeah, don't do that. Which
is brave of that one worker to cross Bezos.
Yeah.
The king of commerce. I don't think it'll work out for him. If you don't know about this, Amazon's working on facial recognition. I know there's a police agency in Florida that they're working with. And they're putting up all the public cameras are going to run through this Amazon stuff. And I think the body cameras too. And they're going to have facial recognition. Right now, they claim they're only testing the cops' faces just to see if it'll work. But you know they're going to turn it on as soon as possible.
They're just testing. Why?
So everywhere that there's a public camera or a cop and you're there, they will know that you were there because it will log your face and it knows who you are. Powered by AWS.
It's fine. Probably unsecured.
You think they'll forget?
Just like no password like the story we had last week.
No password on their own bucket. That would be embarrassing.
My bucket.
And maybe this is a little embarrassing for Amazon as well.
eBay files lawsuit against Amazon over seller recruitment. Apparently, people who were secretly employed by Amazon would go to eBay and they would message individual sellers and be like, hey, why aren't you selling on Amazon? You should sell on Amazon. And apparently it's very effective.
Yeah, Amazon, their big thing now is trying to recruit the third-party sellers, which is, great for them because
less liability.
You can get everything on Amazon. There's almost nothing you can't get on Amazon right now. And a lot of it's third-party. And that hurts eBay's business model, and they're not happy about it. Now, eBay claims that it is expressly against their terms of service for you to do that. And because of that violation, they should be given some sort of, penalty money from Amazon.
Does eBay, do you ever use eBay?
Not in years.
I don't ever use eBay. I've heard that Amazon is where you go when you're looking for something in particular. eBay is where you go if you're just wanting to browse. It's like the flea market of the internet.
Well, but it's like a flea market where you could spend 4 days looking at keychains. There's such a weird glut of stuff on eBay.
They rebranded recently, like a month ago maybe. But I think they kept their same logo, but all of their new branding is millennials in front of bright backgrounds, and they're like, we're so happy to be shopping on eBay. It was interesting branding choice. It was well done, but
Yeah, Amazon doesn't really put people in a lot of their ads, do
No,
they?
it's usually like,
like
minimal compositions of things.
You know what I hate is when I go to all the banking websites and it's always a really super happy interracial couple.
I think mine is too. You're
in
right.
the banking world, two people of the same race never get together. It's not done.
My favorite picture on my banking website was, for a while, it was like a picture of three guys on a couch playing a video game, but they were clearly not playing a game because they were looking right at a camera, and they were like, and they were all a different race. Like it was it was just like a rainbow down the couch, and they're all playing a game together.
Like that. Well, you know what? Banks are such wholesome institutions. They got to express themselves that way because they would never take advantage of people or be completely focused on numbers.
Well, I know a group of young guys would all be really happy playing, a round of COD together, and definitely not screaming.
Right. There would
into
definitely
their mics.
3 young men gaming would never result in racial slurs.
Never.
It's all about togetherness and diversity.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any lead in from that to this
segue.
one, but YouTube went down.
It went down, and everyone freaked out. I was actually online and was watching YouTube videos, and I was like, why won't these play? And then I refreshed the page, and like the whole sidebar menu disappeared, and I was like, someone just deleted an include. And then I refreshed again, and like everything was just gone. And then I went to Twitter, and everyone on Twitter was panicking.
How hard and long did you read?
At least 20 seconds, and then I fell off the chair, and I screamed, and I cried, and I yelled, Mom! I need more tendies!
Which is weird because you don't live with your mom.
No, she heard the screams all the way from her home, way far away, but...
Well, if you're one of the premium subscribers to YouTube, they're going to give you $10 back because of your suffering.
I think it was only down for like maybe an hour.
It wasn't. I didn't even notice
wasn't
it.
that long, yeah.
I woke up the next morning and I was like, oh, that's weird. I didn't even notice because I didn't happen to be using YouTube at that time.
Yeah, it was weird.
Well, speaking of cameras, perhaps we should have put this story after the Amazon one. Oh,
oops.
Hindsight is 2020. We've talked about Palantir, which is Peter Thiel's evil observation software.
Similar to the Palantir of Fëanor.
It's the all-seeing eye. And we've talked about they've used this with various agencies, police, and otherwise, law enforcement usually. And it keeps track of gangs. There was the New Orleans gangs, and they had put them all in Palantir to predict when they were going to do crimes and stuff like that. Well, apparently it's working well, so well that they're looking at an initial public offering.
$41 billion is what they're looking at.
That's a lot of money.
That's at least 5 monies. Many times.
Yeah, well, I guess it would be 5 monies of every how many billion? I can't do that math that quickly in my head.
Wendell, that's why we need Wendell here.
Oh, he's terrible at basic mathematics. Like, the less complex math is, the worse he becomes at it. It's pretty hilarious.
Math is not my subject. It never was.
So anyway, if you're looking at getting in on a hot new I.P.O. that is based on human suffering and controlling the population, here it is. Keep your eye on Palantir.
You want it. Keep your eye on.
And in the other news, using technology for horrible, nefarious purposes, let's talk about Sony.
Sony tries using blockchain tech for their next-gen DRM. So if you buy a song from Sony, they'll know forever whether or not you bought it.
And if you didn't buy it, you're going to suffer.
They send the SWAT squad straight to your house to break down your door.
Now, right now,
where's my 99 cents?
This is only for educational stuff that they do. They have like a Sony educational thing. I don't know if it's textbooks or whatever, but this is going to be based on that. But I suspect if it's at all successful, they are going to roll it out to music and movies and things of that nature.
Everything else, yeah.
So it could be good, I guess. So if it were used in a way of, let's say, like, let's say I want to buy a movie, and then years later, someone comes after me and they're like, hey, you pirated that movie. And I'm like, no, bro, go look at the blockchain. I bought this, back in 2017. This is mine. And then if it worked like that, that would be cool, but I doubt it will because one of the things to think about here is Apple, for example, if you bought Apple movies back in the day, and then they re-released them as 4K, they don't consider that to be the same thing.
Yeah,
So, like,
there's like 3 extra pixels there.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think...
Duh.
With music, I guess... but what if they remaster it?
Yeah, exactly. Or what if, like, you buy a track and it's the same track, but then say, like, there's a version that was on the original album and then a version that's on, like, greatest hits? Like, how will it determine?
Radio edit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably won't be anything good, but look forward to it. And another thing that, on the surface, I guess this is good, right?
I guess, yeah.
It doesn't affect me at all, but some
really
people
either.
might enjoy it.
Apple launches portal for U.S. users to download their data. So similar to what like Facebook and Twitter do, where you can find a link and then see everything they have on you. You can do the same thing with Apple now.
Something tells me they won't give you everything.
No,
They won't
probably
give,
not.
much like Facebook doesn't give you the shadow profile. I bet Apple knows some things that it's not telling you.
But it doesn't want you to know.
Right.
It doesn't want you to know. It doesn't.
Well, new iOS version, iOS 12, has launched. And if you're an Apple person, you might have upgraded to that. And here's some good news or some terrible news if you have children.
The iPhone's new parental controls block searches for sex ed and allow violence and racism. This seems like not so much malice, so much as a really, really poorly made word filter that they're touting as parental controls.
Yeah. The biggest indicator that this was just poorly implemented are the search results being blocked.
Yeah.
So legitimate things that you might look for that have the word sex in them, the biggest one being sex abuse hotline.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's nothing sexy about sex abuse hotline.
No.
Right? I mean, there's no...
That should not be blocked from
You're not feeling
a
frisky.
child either.
Yeah, you're not feeling frisky when you say to yourself, let me get the number for the sex abuse hotline. There's no fun in that search, but this will block it. Some of the things they point out that it won't block is the Daily Stormer, the site, the white nationalist site that was blocked by Cloudflare. Girls Gone Wild on Reddit, which is some hot amateur news.
Because the word
if you don't know about that.
sex is not in the title.
And I'm...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you.
I imagine there are hundreds and hundreds of porn websites that this will let you into. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, how could you ever get them all?
I would think that a way to improve this without having to like completely redo it would be to allow parents to add their own words that it would filter for. But I mean, it's never going to be perfect though. You know what I mean?
Can you imagine a young parent, who is maybe a little ignorant to some of the darker things in the world, trying to think up all the sex-related keywords that they would want to block?
It seems... I don't know how a lot of those softwares work, but I think the best thing you can do if you're a parent is to just monitor your child manually.
Well, I think
look at their history and...
The way that so ad blocking, for example,
Yeah.
right? Like, how do you know what's an ad and what isn't? That's all crowdfunded or crowdsourced.
Yeah.
So you depend on people stumbling into an ad and then putting it on your list of saying this is an ad. And then eventually you get a real good list. For porn, that would be hard to do because no one's trying to avoid it, right? I mean...
Well, some people are.
I don't think so. Well, maybe, but if you're trying to avoid porn, you're not going to stumble into it because you're trying to avoid it.
Yeah, so you're never going to be like, oh, this site is...
Exactly. But your kids, if they stumble into it, they're not going to tell anybody because they're looking for porn. So it's never going to work. You can't... Porn is a juggernaut. You can't stop it. You can only hope to ride the waves of it.
I would assume that, you just discuss that sort of thing with your child and, monitor their activity.
Well, it's funny.
Parent your child, but
they talk
not
about
depend wholly on software.
Racism and violence, but no sex. And I've always felt that was an interesting thing about television and movies. Like, you can literally watch someone die, but you can't look at a nipple.
Yeah.
It's like a weird, where are our priorities here? What are we talking about here?
I don't think either will go away real soon.
Well,
on TV.
But at some point in your life, nipples are going to enter the picture, right? For most people.
Well, for most people, that's at birth, but...
Well, I'm saying in an erotic way.
Oh, okay.
But murdering people shouldn't, right? So it still doesn't make any sense.
Well, you don't know what I do on my weekends.
Wow. You shouldn't be murdering.
Well, listen. Sometimes the knife slips.
We talked about the knife. You're talking about accidental murder here?
Yeah, you don't mean to, but sometimes...
Is this like some sort of...
They ran into my knife.
Is this some sort of like bedroom cutting play that we're talking about?
Fine.
Oh, that's horrific. We're going to get comments on that. We talked about the rice-sized signal conditioner spy chip. Remember it?
I do.
You loved it because they had that picture of the pencil.
Yeah, we did a video on that. I'm not sure if it's been released yet. I haven't looked this weekend. Good
question. I don't think so. But that story, the big thing about that story is that everyone denied it. And Apple in particular was like, we've never seen this before. And now they've gone even further.
Apple CEO Tim Cook himself is calling for Bloomberg to retract its Chinese spy chip story. It's a bit of a tongue twister when you try to say that fast.
Chinese spy chip? Oh.
It is hard to say, yeah. Try that below in the comments.
So never before has Tim Cook ever called for a publication to retract a story, even through all the FBI stuff and all the negative press that Apple has ever gotten. They've never done this. But he's saying this is so completely untrue that they should retract it. But instead of retracting it, of course, as we learned last week, they doubled down and reported on it more and added to it.
See, this is kind of like the Beyonce effect where, like, you can try to get something removed off the internet, but it's never going to happen.
I think people who are a little older would call that the Streisand effect.
Oh, yeah. Mm. I like the Beyonce effect because that picture is hilarious.
That is a great picture, yeah.
She looks good in like every other photo, so it's like, does one picture of you not looking good, does that really bother you that much? But
have you seen the ones where they cut pieces away from that and put them on Arnold Schwarzenegger from Conan? And it fits really well.
No, I've not seen that. I'll have to
great.
Look that up.
Yeah, you should check those out. Well, we have to talk about electric cars, right? At least
not
once
Elon
per
Musk
week.
in particular, though.
There's some Tesla stuff coming.
It's coming, but not in this story.
But first, we'll talk a little bit about the meta picture for hybrid cars or electric cars.
The dirt on clean electric cars. New research shows some drivers might spew out less CO2 with a diesel engine, which if you've never been around a diesel engine, they're disgusting.
What? This is oil company propaganda, Krista. I can see it. I know what that looks like.
You can tell by the pixels.
These are anti-Elon people. They must be stopped.
Maybe.
But actually what this study shows is that a lot of CO2 goes into making batteries. And compounded with certain parts of the world where you're going to be charging up your battery with coal power, like Germany is the big one that they point out, you might actually be better off driving a diesel engine in terms of CO2 output, if that's your thing.
I've always wondered about that, like if the manufacturing cost is higher, in terms of like how much power you need.
Well, it's not cost in money terms.
Yeah,
this is in environmental terms.
Yeah.
Right.
I always wondered that, and this confirms what I wondered. Today I learned.
Well, we will talk about Tesla right now.
Tesla quietly drops full self-driving option as it adds $45,000 Model 3. So they used to advertise, full self-driving on most of their cars, and they've recently just completely dropped that clause.
It was an option you could get.
I assume it's a legal reason because it's not true.
I don't know if they've been tested legally. But they did say that it was, quote unquote, too confusing. Because people who saw the phrase full self-driving.
They thought, they could just sleep on their way to work.
They thought that the car would be full self-driving. When in fact it's not. That's not what that does. The button that says full self-driving, that's not full self-driving, obviously. So.
It's some poor UI design. I cannot talk this episode.
Oh.
I'm getting all tongue-tied.
Is that maybe related to a certain law change in Canada?
No. I read a story, and this is not related to anything that we're discussing in the news today. I read a story that Canada was about to like run out of weed or something. I saw the headline. I didn't read the story. I'll be honest.
Maybe they can airlift some in.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that seems like that would be a lot to go through in, like a week since that was legalized. But
I remember when Chick-fil-A opened here in town?
No.
You don't remember that?
I think it's always been here since I've lived here.
No. Definitely not. When Chick-fil-A opened here in town, you couldn't get close to the place for 2 months.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was just...
It is packed a lot.
Look, because they had a fairly small entranceway off of the main road that goes to it. And people were just backed up. Like, you couldn't... The right lane was just closed, basically.
I just don't understand that. Because, I mean, like, Chick-fil-A's good, but it's not good enough to wait, like, 20 minutes for.
No, but anything new, people have got to be in on it. I mean, like, it's the pre-order culture. This is the pre-order culture of weed that you're talking about.
People who never even smoked before were like, well, I got to get some.
Yes, I'm sure that was the case. Well, back to the Tesla story.
Sorry.
After that aside.
We've had some weird asides this week.
The $45,000 model is, of course, it's cheaper. I think the other one starts at $55,000 or so. This one is actually going to have fewer cells in the battery. So on some of the Teslas, if you pay, you can get more capacity. This one, you will not be able to do that.
It's already so expensive.
Well, after your savings...
Oh, yeah.
You will get much things like $37,000. Here's the catch, though. You have to take delivery before January 1st, 2019. They've confirmed none of these will be delivered before January 1st, 2019. Ouch.
Good job.
But it's cheaper. If you want an electric car, it's an option. And, they're still fast, and I don't know how reliable they are. But they got, remember the crash test? They got like the best crash test ever.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Which will be good for when you turn on the self-driving mode and go to sleep.
Yeah, because you think, oh, it's...
Sleep right through the crash.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to social media, let's talk about Facebook and the election.
Exclusive. Facebook to ban misinformation on voting in upcoming U.S. election. This is actually a really bizarre... I don't know how they're actually going to implement this. I'll be interested to see.
So the fear here is that there's going to be disruption of the election. And some of the examples they gave are people trying to get you to not vote by scaring you away from the polling. They might report a story like, hey, there's a knife attacker at the polling place. Or, oh my God, the crowd is so huge, I can't even get in. It's a 2-hour wait to vote. So they're thinking you read that and you're like, oh.
I don't know if I want to go in now.
Yeah, I'm not voting today. So somehow Facebook expects to catch these in real time, vet them again. How?
Against what? Yeah.
Maybe they got somebody on the inside at every... How many polling stations are there in America? There's a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, I can't even fathom.
And they're going to shut those down, they say. They won't be deleting them, but they're going to do the thing where they don't share them. Like they give them the fake news tag type thing.
Yeah, where it changes the design of it to be smaller.
Yeah, well, not only that, but it just doesn't populate it in all the different places. So
I don't know how they're going to... What did they say? They had a war room?
Yes, they've constructed a war room for the election.
Are you like a member of the seasonal staff that come in like...
You have to have a special armband.
Yeah.
Well, Google Plus. Rest in peace, Google Plus.
When did it get launched? Was it like...
It's been
2011?
It's been around for a while, but it's never been relevant. So.
No. I remember when it launched and like a few people invited me to it and I was like, I don't know that I really want to use this. Like I looked at it and...
I actually accidentally, because the way the UI was set up, I accidentally enrolled in it and I was like, oh God, that was such a pain in the ass to get out of it.
Yeah.
I had to turn it off. Well, it's dead now. After they had their breach, they've decided to just put the old girl down. And now that it's gone, some people are speaking out.
A Google Plus UI designer suggests inept management played a role in the network's demise. I'm not surprised by that in the least.
Yeah, it seemed like this was a very, very dysfunctional part of Google. And it may be that it was a bad product because bad people worked on it. This guy claims that he was recruited to work on Gmail, I think. And they were like, you know what? You're going to be working on this other thing for a little while. And then he was working on it for 4 years. or something. He quit eventually.
It would really suck as someone who's like, you get all excited because like, I got a job at Google and like I'm going to be designing cool products, and then you get stuck. There'd be two terrible things. You'd get stuck on Google Plus, which is of course not fun, or analytics, which is a nightmare.
Well, analytics could be interesting.
It could be interesting, but like I imagine now that Google's so big, there's probably so much bureaucracy around how things are done there that like actually making a meaningful change to make analytics easier to use would be almost impossible.
Well, also you have to think about, analytics where they're just hoovering up all that data. So they're going to demand that you keep tracking everything.
I'm just thinking purely from a design perspective, like, because right now it's just a pain in the butt to figure out where anything is.
Well, according to this guy, that was the problem. Nobody listened to anybody else. There was infighting, and his design suggestions were just ignored, and it was a terrible, terrible product. And it shows.
And now it's gone.
Thank God it's dead.
And now he's gone.
Well, we talk about the election. Now that we're getting up to the election time, this is the most active time, the best time to be a political bot. And can you, Krista, tell me that you are not interacting with political bots on social media?
See, you kind of took this to a tinfoil hat level that I had not anticipated. But let's talk a little bit more about the title first. Most Americans say they can't tell the difference between a social media bot and a human. However, they do recognize that the bots are bad and they don't like them. But they can't tell what they are.
Universally, it seemed like younger people had a better grasp of bots.
Yeah.
But even they overwhelmingly distrusted them.
Now, see, my thinking with like the bots is like their whole thing is like getting people to click on them. So, you're advertising a product you're selling, or you're trying to get clicks for a website. So you'll post some sort of clickbaity crap. And the reason you can tell is because, your friends usually don't post tons of clickbaity crap. But
what about your multi-level marketing friends?
Now they do post lots of it, and all the emojis. I don't know if you've ever looked at like the anti-MLM subreddits.
Well, it's part of the standard front page Reddit.
Oh, is it now? Well, like they always use all these emojis, and it's like
the claps.
Yeah, and it's like you have to see these new lipsticks.
I like the claps.
I do like the claps.
It's so ridiculous. It's almost like they're parodying themselves.
Yeah, but then they'll use like the praise hands or like lipstick or whatever it is they're selling, and it's frustrating. I don't know where I was going with this now.
You were going to say that you were talking about how the political bots are not doing that. They're not selling you anything.
No, see, I was thinking that that's what they would be doing.
But that's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah, you're saying that like it's more insidious than that.
Right. The political bots are to just sow dissent. They just want to create anger and strife.
They don't even care about the clicks.
And they're very good at it. So actually a lot of the, when you see something, you're like, oh my God, these stupid left-wing liberals and their social justice, I hate them. Or on the opposite way, it's like, they want to murder the immigrants, Some
right-wingers, they're racist.
Some of those posts are purely to get that reaction from you. And a lot of people can't tell that those are just bots. They're just stirring the shit.
See, I call that bait. It's a big one.
Except there's no click. So it's not clickbait.
Well, but you're just being baited. Like they just want
troll bait.
To be angry, and then it's like you've just wasted time on this. And
it works.
It does work.
I've kind of, now that I know about it, I can sort of recognize it sometimes. But I can see how if you don't know that's a thing, you just get angry.
Do your parents ever send you like an article and they're like, this made me so mad? My mom will do that every now and then. I'm like, Mom, this is bait. And she's like, huh? I'm like, they're just trying to get you angry. And I was like, probably for your click. But now that you've introduced the political component, that makes it a little even scarier. My
parents are, they're pretty much at like NPC level politically. Like they just believe whatever the TV tells them.
Depends on what channel they're on.
They're lefties, which is, it's kind of weird because, deep in the sticks of a red state, there's a lot of blue. Well,
it's actually a common misconception. Eastern Kentucky in particular has always voted Democrat until very recently.
Yeah, they're all about workers' rights. I think is the big thing there.
Yeah.
So, well, getting back to the social media, let's talk about Facebook and their exciting new product.
Facebook plans camera-equipped TV device so they can spy on you in your own home like everybody else. This is what, to compete with Nest and
Alexa and Google Home.
Yeah.
And their ilk. So Facebook, it doesn't have a clever name.
It should, though, really, because Facebook camera-equipped TV device has not really quite got the same ring to it.
Here's a picture of it.
Well, you think they'll call it the Zuck?
No.
Zuck, find me a recipe.
I don't think they want, because they understand how unpleasant he is.
He is like a robot, though.
Yeah, you don't want him in your home, right? That would be very uncomfortable.
Can you imagine his lifeless voice? Add 2 pounds chicken.
But this next article is about the same thing. So if you want to go ahead and read that.
Yeah. It turns out that Facebook could in fact use data collected from its Portal in-home video device to target you with ads, surprising no one.
So when they announced this product, they were quick to point out, no, we will not be using targeted advertising with this product. We're not going to do it. Now, they clarified that later. They're like, no. So what we meant was, we're not going to show you the ads with this device, but we will certainly be taking all the data that we get from this device and using it to advertise you on every other part of Facebook. So keep that in mind when you put the Facebook camera in your home.
So you can get Mark Zuckerberg's sweet voice telling you how to make that recipe.
God, wouldn't that be depressing?
You know what else is depressing? Facebook. Facebook posts may point to depression, study finds, but not in the way you think. They kind of, this is a weird headline, but the actual article is not so much, Facebook causes depression so much as Facebook has figured out certain words and things may point to the person posting having depression already.
I think they have proven that social media overall will cause you to be depressed.
See, that article, when you first read the headline, that's what you're thinking it's going to talk about, but it's not.
So do you often post with the words tears, cry, pain, miss, hate, and ugh? And do you refer to yourself as I in a lot of your posts in a sort of self-centered, narcissistic way? Well, guess what? You might be depressed.
At least according to this. Though it seems like the I thing, that seems like that could be anyone because most people use I.
Most self-centered Facebook drones, maybe.
Well, when you're talking about like your day, I had a good day today. Would that mean you're like depressed? I only
talk about other people's days. What if you're a person who refers to yourself in the third person? Do you think that means you're super non-depressed?
In the old days of Facebook, so the way that the design was formatted, it would have your name first, and then you wrote your statuses in like a third person, so that way it looked like so and so had a great day. Maybe
that's less depressing.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if there was a difference in how that was formatted, if that changed people's mindset while using social media. I don't know why. I think they changed it because it was kind of confusing. It was weird. It looked weird.
Yeah. Well, one thing that might depress you while browsing Facebook are those horribly annoying video ads, right?
That scroll down the page with you.
Except it probably doesn't depress you because it turns out no one watches them.
Well, people watch them, at least according to, the advertisers that Facebook sold the advertising to.
Right.
Anyway, I messed that sentence up. Advertisers allege Facebook hid the fact that no one watches the video ads.
So yeah, when you're buying ads on Facebook, it's going to tell you, hey, the average time that people watch this ad and the demographic you've chosen is this. But here's the problem. They counted raw views and not individual users to divide by, which made it a 9,000% increase in the time watched. Some people are upset about that. They say that's kind of fraud, and they are going to sue.
Well, probably should. That's have they developed view bots for Facebook video yet? I'm sure that's already happened, right?
Probably, yeah. I'm sure the Russians are all over that.
Well, I remember we've had a client who they paid for video production and then someone view botted their video and they were like, we only have 3 comments but 1 million views, and it was weird.
We had a guy one time and he didn't have a lot of money and we probably should have just turned him down. But we were like, okay, we can do something real simple for this price, And he was like, I'm going to put Google ads on there. I was like, okay, I put the Google ads on your site. Now, don't because I knew what this guy was going to do. Like I could tell. I was like, listen, don't have everybody, because he was in a college dorm. I was like, don't have everybody in the dorm click on these ads. 'Cause it sounds like you're going to make money. No, they're going to know when you do that. Don't do that. They will kick you off. He made it 4 days
before they found him.
Right.
I had a client call me the other day and was asking, like, can we just put a bunch of keywords in? And I was like, yeah, you used to be able to do that. They don't really, like, judge you by just your keywords anymore because people were putting in random keywords for everything.
You used to be able to do that, like 1998.
Yeah, he thought that was still a thing. And I was like, no, we're not going to do that now.
Well, you listen to all these Facebook problems and you think to yourself, what's the solution? And some of the investors think that they have it.
Major Facebook investors want Mark Zuckerberg out as chairman. But Mark Zuckerberg is CEO.
Well, he has controlling interest on the board.
Yeah, so, I mean, he would be voting against himself.
He would have to approve his own ousting.
It seems like they're just being like, yeah, we don't like you.
Yeah, they're just letting him know. They're just putting him on notice.
Yeah. By the way, we think you suck.
Yeah. He probably doesn't care. No. I don't know. It's hard to tell. He is
kind of like robotic.
But I can't get a feeling of if he's just like unable to express any emotion and inside it's killing him, that the world hates him, or if he just doesn't care and he's completely cold and emotionless.
I think he probably cares, but he just doesn't display emotions the way normal humans do.
The billions of dollars have to cushion that a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I imagine he's busy too, so it's like, how often do you think he's really reading hit pieces and stuff against him?
He's busy, but I don't think he's like nearly as smart as he tries to sell himself. So I feel like he's just running around being an idiot.
There's some poor person who's supposed to manage his schedule, and she's like, you go like twice as long, like you don't need to have all these meetings. He's like, no, I should though. I need to look busy.
Because we do know that people who are unable to produce anything love to have a lot of meetings.
That's true. It's very true, unfortunately.
Well, we talked about the trolls, the social media trolls and the bots earlier. You don't think they exist? What about this?
Twitter publishes tweet archive of Russian and Iranian state-run troll farms, just like Grandma used to grow.
And it's a picture of Putin with Donald Trump's hair.
Someone got paid to make that. It's a good thought.
You don't know anything about that. It might not even have been a female.
So
yeah, they've long said, yeah, we got all these trolls and they're from Russia and they're trying to disrupt things and get us to fight each other. Well, they put their money where their mouth is, or they put their tweets where their mouth is. They've released this giant trove of troll tweets. And the idea here is that you might be able to grab these and run it through an AI or something and try to help prevent them or filter them out in the future.
Are they individual tweets or are they accounts?
No, this is like they've targeted the accounts they believe to be trolls and released all of their tweets. So in a package that you can download.
It'd be funny if you looked and found your own account.
If you want to just get really angry, you can just read them all. Just like, I hate these trolls.
And then you share it to your Facebook and you're like, this makes me angry.
It might be that where it's the complete opposite of what they're looking for. People will get it and be like, oh, that's a good thought. I'm going to retweet that.
Retweet that. Rephrase that in my own words.
Well, that's all we got for you for this episode. And to Friday, we'll be looking at security.
AI and
robots. And the ever popular nonsense.
Nonsense, which at this point really is just nonsense. It's not even a little bit tech related most of the time.
Some of them are.
But not all of them.
You'll have to find out by tuning in and judging for yourself.
Bye. Hello. Today is October 26th. It's Friday, and it's your favorite episode of the news. We're re-recording the first part of this episode because Ryan had his mic pushed to the side and you couldn't hear him.
We had a great intro. We're not even going to try to reproduce it. I'm sorry. It's lost.
Lost forever. And even if we were uploaded it, you wouldn't be able to hear Ryan's part.
Yeah. Maybe we could do that as a Patreon blooper or something like that. I don't know. Well, we're just going to get right into it. No intro because
what's the purpose?
We've failed horribly.
It's the real heartbleed. Medtronic locks out vulnerable pacemaker programmer kit. A pulse racing tale of biotech bug fixing. They went really ham on the title there.
I had a great pun leading up to that one too. Now no one gets to enjoy it.
It was a story close to my heart, was the pun.
Yeah, because your mom has a pacemaker.
My mom has a pacemaker.
So the story here is that pacemakers are okay. That's the good news. No problem with the pacemaker. It is the pacemaker programmer device that can be taken advantage of. It's encrypted when it connects, but it doesn't confirm the source of the file. So you could possibly get a bad file on your pacemaker.
And then there you'd be. And though it seems like, all that they really track is like how fast your heart beats. So,
but you can change. Imagine you get a phone call, right? And it's just like some creepy voice on the other end. It's like, send some Bitcoins or I'm going to turn your pacemaker up. And you're like, yeah, whatever, asshole. And then your heart starts to race.
That'd be terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it will send an electrical impulse. And
that would be a good movie.
Starring Harrison Ford, who features later in this episode.
Foreshadowing. Well, I remember when the do not track thing was added to the browsers. I don't remember when that was. That was quite a while ago. But I was like,
quite a while ago? It seems like it's fairly recent.
I remember opening it up and clicking that and being like, yeah, screw those people who track me. Well, bad news for past me and everybody else.
Do not track, the privacy tool used by millions of people, doesn't actually do anything. Yeah, so you click on that, but most sites, as it turns out, they just ignore it.
Completely ignore it.
It's not really worth
They found 2 of the major websites that actually respected it, but it's 2 out of thousands. They point out Facebook, for example. Facebook has controls to turn that stuff off, but they will not respect do not track to automatically turn those off. You have to manually go in.
Well, because
right.
That's not Facebook.
Because that would be too easy, right? Well, bad news if you're using a secure shell, specifically the libSSH, because it has a pretty serious flaw.
Trivial authentication bypass and libSSH leaves servers wide open. How many servers have been affected remains unclear.
Unclear. Now, if you're freaking out, this is not OpenSSH. This is just libSSH, and not libSSH v2. Just the original, right? I mean, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Okay, you just keep talking about this story.
So you can, instead of sending a request command, as you normally do when you're trying to open up, you can send a success command. And poor, stupid libSSH will just be like, oh, okay. Yeah, just come on in, whatever account you want. But here's the thing. It's not the fault. No, wait, that's another story. This is the fault of the people that created this.
Yeah, so
we're
all mixed up. It's fine. Just keep moving.
I'm not going to say what we're off of because it's a horrible catchphrase and we need to stop using it. But we are off of them. You know what else is off of them? Cloud storage drives.
Buggy software and popular connected storage drives can let hackers read private data. RIP.
So private. These are the hard drives that you can purchase that have software built onto them already that allow some cloud functionality. Most of it is written in PHP, and that is where the flaws are. It's not all the same flaw, but almost every major model has them. So you go out and you buy a drive, and it's like, oh, you can just automatically plug this into the cloud, and it works. Well, yeah, but everybody else can get onto it too. So you should not allow those drives onto the internet. Those should be local for you.
But what if I need a place to store all my mushroom pictures?
Well, you can still use them. Just
on the cloud.
You can't. It's a personal cloud. It's Krista's cloud.
The cloud.
Not the universal cloud. Unless you want to share those mushroom pictures. But
no, they're private.
It's not just read access. So people could delete your mushroom pictures.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Think about that.
Thinking about it make me sad.
Also, think about people are going to track. I know this about you. You love to pirate Warhammer 40,000 miniatures.
Yeah, I'm really into the Warhammer universe. That's why I know everything about it. Literally, I think I've only played one Warhammer game, and it's the one we played on stream.
Well, why don't you read the title?
Okay. 3D printers have fingerprints, a discovery that could help trace 3D printed guns.
More importantly, it can trace counterfeit miniatures.
I feel like, I guess that you could do that, but wouldn't those miniatures
Yeah.
You would need a really tiny filament for that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. They
Obscenely small.
They probably wouldn't be nearly as good.
No.
So the idea here is that when you're printing with your 3D printer, sometimes you're printing like the outer layer.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're printing a mesh that just fills in the gaps.
It's like a structural.
It's structural. Well, that mesh on a microscopic level can be traced back to the printer that authored it.
Which is cool, but also kind of scary, I guess. But
I guess, yeah.
Could be scary. I mean, most people are just printing silly stuff on 3D printers, so.
Mostly. I think the meme of 3D printed guns is just purely to get people stirred up. Because 3D printed guns, I don't think anybody's ever used one for any crime, first of all. And the pistols are terrible. I mean, they are like 1 or 2 shots and they just fly apart.
Well, I was going to say, I would be terrified. You put one piece on wrong and then, it goes off in your hand.
That's true of any gun.
Yeah,
fair.
To be fair, but it seems like there's a higher risk of error with something that's 3D printed.
When something that is designed to explode in your hand, and I realize it's gas expanding, not really an explosion. Don't correct me on that. But it's still powerful enough that you don't want to take that risk.
No.
Yeah.
I certainly don't.
You go ahead and spend the extra money. I wouldn't even shoot a high point. So much less a 3D printed gun. Well, let's talk about jQuery.
Let's not. 0-day popular jQuery plugin actively exploited for at least 3 years.
I know that you hate the security news, Krista.
I do.
But you've used jQuery.
I do a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Mostly for animation stuff, though.
It's so convenient.
It is convenient. It's way better. I hate JavaScript so much,
Yeah.
and jQuery is a lot better than that.
Of course, a lot of people are going to be like,
jQuery's
performance is terrible. You shouldn't be using it. Oh, my God, you're still using jQuery. Kill yourself. Well, the problem here is the file upload plugin. So the file upload plugin, which, hey, need a quick file upload? You want the user to browse their local files? Toss in the jQuery plugin, right? Everybody's doing it. Bad idea. And
Your mom was right. Everyone doing it is not a good reason to do it.
Are you going to jump off a cliff if everybody else is doing it?
How big is the cliff?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's variable length. The problem is the Apache web server. At some point in the past, the Apache web server introduced changes to turn off htaccess in certain directories by default. Doesn't pay attention to your htaccess directive. Well, guess how jQuery file upload plugin is secured?
With Apache.
htaccess.
Are you saying that Apache should jump on it?
I don't get it.
It's a joke.
Was Geronimo an Apache?
No.
What's the jump?
It's a song. I think it's the Apache. That's who sings it.
I don't know that one. That's too hip for me.
The two people who know that reference. I was just waiting the whole story to make that joke, and I bet I have the band wrong.
Well, that might appeal to some younger people. And
Maybe.
This story as well might appeal to some younger people who are going to find so many ways to
get around
abuse this.
UK supermarkets will test using facial recognition to verify alcohol buyers' age, report claims. This seems like it is rife for abuse.
Yeah, now this is not going to be like you store your image.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, I know you. You're old enough. No, this is going to try to figure out your age just with artificial intelligence.
Now, if they use this as like a first pass and then let the cashier use their judgment or, obviously enter, their information on their ID card, that's probably fine. But I can see all kinds of ways to get around this. Think of the thottery that could,
right.
use so much makeup to contour away and, make yourself look older.
And think about the tutorials that teach you how to do that.
Yeah, that's the YouTubers.
Yeah.
They're going to be excited. They're going to be excited to get those makeup tutorials out. How to fool the UK facial recognition program.
It could also be useful if you're, a young man who is in the club, as they like to say.
In the club, yeah.
And you might be worried that a young girl might be a little too young, might be lying about her age.
Oh.
Yeah, put up your phone, put the AI on her.
Do you think it'll account for facial hair? Like, say if you have a big, giant beard, would it think you were older?
I don't think beards mess with the existing facial recognition stuff, because it's mostly like it's points along your brow and your cheeks and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I think about like the iPhone X one, where like family members could open up your phone pretty easily. It seems like that would be, there's just no easy way to do that. Like you're going to have to always have some sort of manual check on it. But
yeah, it is. You have to question, is the face the ultimate form of identity? And this next story would certainly say no.
Someone used a deep learning AI to perfectly insert Harrison Ford into Solo, a Star Wars story, as I'm sure all of us have already seen, because this movie is another great addition to the Star Wars universe.
That car scene doesn't look that great, but here where he's
that
walking,
looks really
this
good.
looks amazing. That you would think that is a young Harrison Ford there. I bet that's weird for him to look at.
I bet it is too, because he's like, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I don't actually know if anyone liked that movie or not.
I've not seen it. Yeah, I've heard bad things about it, but obviously you get too old, right? You can't play the same character 40 years later. You just can't do it. Or is it, we're going on 50 now, right? No, that was late 70s, wasn't it?
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. So
ancient history.
What are you going to do when you create this amazing character, but you get too old and you can't be that character anymore?
You insert them digitally. Actors are digitally preserving themselves to continue their careers beyond the grave. That's a terrifying thing. What if there is no opportunity in Hollywood after this? It's just the same 10 actors.
It's going to be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in every movie forever until the end of time.
What about Will Smith? Will
Smith he's past his prime.
You think?
His day is over.
That's true.
Will Smith is gonna move into the Morgan Freeman roles as Morgan Freeman dies.
You think? I don't know if he's got the same chops as Morgan Freeman.
Well, no, he doesn't, but he's that guy. They've embraced him.
It's true. There's some pictures in here, correct? So what they do is they put you in this chamber and scan you in all the different lighting conditions so they can insert you.
They don't have a picture of that. They do have a picture of this guy who was digitally recreated for Star Wars.
That's crazy to think about.
And of course, Carrie Fisher, we know about her. But yeah, as you're talking about, the scanning is impressive because they have this big bank of RGB LED lighting. And they put you under every lighting condition over the course of a few minutes while they're constantly scanning. So when you're dead and they need to recreate you, they can just match up the lighting. And like, okay, there you go. Put him in there. Use that. Or her. Doesn't have to be a he.
It could be either.
Could be neither. Could be fluid. Well, moving on to robots. And the big question with robots, right? Every week we have to ask ourselves, when will the robots start killing?
And we're one step closer this week.
So much closer.
The Army is preparing to send driverless vehicles into combat. And this is actually really neat, though. Like, so it's not, I guess, I mean, it is, the car itself is automated, but like, it has to follow a leader car. So there's going to be people, I assume, in the first car.
Right.
But you can chain as many of these little caterpillars along as you want.
Exactly. And that's what you often do in the military. You have a big convoy moving things. And I'm not saying that this is what we do, but hypothetically, right? Let's just in our minds, let's imagine if you were to occupy a part of the world in order to steal their resources, you might get guerrilla warfare, right? They might attack you in unconventional ways. One of the ways they might do that is roadside bombs, IEDs. IEDs generally attack convoys and people die. But if your convoy only has 1 or 2 humans, the risk is greatly reduced.
So this is a neat system. Still sucks, if your supplies get blown up, but at least there's no loss of human life.
Yeah. Just get some more supplies. Get another robot.
Just have more money. Easy.
And we know that the Department of Defense has an almost unlimited budget. So
have more money is indeed an option for
That's
them.
going to create jobs, really, if you think about it. You're going to roadside bomb your way into a perfect economy for the United States.
Easy.
Thanks. Well, another place that robots are stepping into our world is stealing our jobs. And now there's a new job that robots are going after.
Human competitive patches an automatic program repair with Repairinator.
We've talked about Repairinator before, but this article points out Repairinator isn't just in theory. Repairinator has been out there actually squashing bugs and submitting patches, and has gotten as many as 5 accepted into code.
It's fixing software. It's doing our jobs.
Not only is it doing it, it's doing it faster than a human can do it and being accepted.
Do you think it ever has to pull out the rubber duck and like talk through a bug?
Maybe it has a function called rubber duck that it can fall back on for like empty cycles for so long.
It's like, I need to describe this problem to you, little rubber duck. Maybe it does that first, and that's why it gets it done so fast.
Could be. Like, well, it could multi-thread. It could have a rubber duck thread running at all times. How are you ever going to... You can't compete with that as a human.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You've only got one thought process going at any given time.
Thought process. Well, let's talk about Netflix. And Netflix knows perhaps an alarming amount about us, right? Based on our viewing habits and our advertising profile. And you might be surprised how much they know. You also might be surprised how that affects your viewing experience.
Netflix reportedly shows different skin colors on movie title cards depending on your assumed race. This is really bizarre. I don't think it's necessarily like good or bad, but it's like, who spent the time to do this?
It's kind of evilly brilliant. But here's the thing about it, right? Before we show you the actual thing, they're not necessarily making money off of this, right? Because there's no advertising. You're already paying them.
Well, in the case of like Netflix originals, they want you to watch like their own shows or whatever, so they can keep making more of the seasons and stuff. True. So like if they can get it to appeal to a wider audience, they're going to do that. So
let's take a look here. I wish this picture was larger. But this is Kristen Bell and Kelsey Grammer of Frasier fame. This is the thumbnail for Like Father. I've never heard of that.
I've never heard of that. It might be a Netflix original. It might be something else.
Now, on the Twitterverse, people have reported they see a different thumbnail. Now, I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's something different about this one.
It doesn't quite look like Kelsey Grammer in that picture.
In fact, it's not. But rather, it is other actors. They pointed out these people have like 20 lines between them in the whole movie. They're not even important
Oh, this
characters.
Was a movie? I thought it was a show.
Oh, maybe it is a show.
I don't know.
No, I think it's
either
a movie.
Way. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a
either
movie.
way, these are minor characters and not major characters in the
1 hour, 43 minutes. That's a movie. So here's another example. Love Actually. You got this gentleman. I don't think he's the main actor.
Love Actually has like 20 million people in it. So like there's different storylines, but he's one of the main storylines.
So, but he's probably not on the original.
I think the original just had all of the actors' faces on it. It's funny that they are picking the ones that have individual based on their color.
So I don't think anybody's ever seen other than black. Like I wonder if they have Hispanic versions.
Maybe in some cases.
That'd be interesting to see. If you are Hispanic, why don't you go to Netflix
and tell us what you see for Like Father, and
then account share with one of your white friends and figure out what the differences are.
And leave a comment below so we can read it,
or tweet it because you can get a lot. These people got a lot of attention on Twitter if that's your thing.
They had an article written. Now we're talking about it.
Well, look at that. It's almost like being famous. And you know what else could make you famous? Creating your own moon.
This seems a little ridiculous to me.
Krista doesn't think this is real.
Chinese city plans to launch artificial moon to replace streetlights. This sounds really stupid to me. I don't understand how this could possibly generate enough light for one city.
Well, it's a matter of distance, right? You're moving out all the way into space, right?
It's not a matter of where it grips it.
So, but when you're reflecting something, the beam is not laser focused. It expands.
I understand that. I'm just saying, like, this seems like a lot of effort when you could just have a streetlight. Like, I don't.
But why? That's not as romantic. Well,
and also just like the moon is huge. How big of a satellite are they going to launch just to get a reflection?
The moon covers the entire Earth's surface, or at least the part that's visible. This is 10 to 80 kilometers circle. That's a tiny, tiny portion.
That's still ridiculous. Someone tell me if that's actually possible.
So remember when we had the eclipse?
I understand. It just seems
but I'm saying
crazy.
The way that you didn't go blind from the eclipse, if you didn't have glasses, is you punched a hole in something in a box and then allowed the light to shine through. It's that hole. It's that same idea. It's just a tiny portion. It's going to be...
It's a waste of resources for one city to have slightly more romantic lighting.
But it's going to be so romantic. Although China, they
What
don't.
happens when the moon's up with it too? Will it just be like extra?
Yeah, well, you'll see the moon, and then you'll see this thing.
Well, yeah, I know you'll see both, but like, will it be extra bright on the streets?
They claim, now that was a worry that some people had. It was like, what about the nighttime animals? Like, what are they going to be like? Oh God, perpetual day. But one of the things about it, it's not going to be that bright because the distance is so extreme. It's going to be a dusk-like glow.
I'm going to laugh when it has no discernible difference. They've spent however many millions of dollars to launch this ridiculous satellite.
But once they get it up there, it's probably going to take care of itself. I mean, it's going to use solar power.
Yeah, but I mean, what if every city in the world starts doing this though? Like, say it's effective, and
that's
then
going to be amazing. And what if you can like start changing the color to match your city?
RGB cities?
I don't think that would work because you're just reflecting.
No, it's reflecting light, but.
Well, robots, they're patching our software. They're driving for us. They're solving all of our problems. They're changing our Netflix icons. But do we want them to do all these things?
This movement says no. A movement has risen to keep humans and not robots in the driver's seat. This guy, Ryan, you pointed out earlier when we were kind of reviewing the stories, this guy seems a little out of touch. But
he might have had an easy childhood. He points out that he loves driving. Why does he love driving? Well, he thinks back to his first car, which he still owns, a perfectly restored, what year was it? It was like a 1967 Porsche 911S.
Well, that's a perfectly reasonable first car.
Yeah. You definitely want to teach your kid to drive on a insanely powerful two-seater. If I ever had kids, that's what I would do.
Oh, clearly.
Yeah. So, yeah, this guy wants people to keep driving cars. I definitely agree. They point out in that article, most people do agree. Most people want to keep driving their cars. Nobody trusts even the level 5 automation. But I don't think that'll stop it.
I think it'll still happen. I think it's a good skill to have. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain skills you should just have, and driving is one.
It does seem like more and more people now are just not driving.
I mean, you can get away with that in larger cities. Here, I mean, even in the U.S., though, like, if you want to go anywhere, so many cities, our cities are so spread out. It's like you
but some people just won't do it. They just refuse to do it.
Well, they've got other people enabling them to not do it.
Well, what happens when everybody has robots enabling them and they don't have to bother?
Someone has to buy the robot.
That's true. Well,
compelling points.
I'm going to keep driving until I'm too old and they take away my license.
I'm just going to walk everywhere.
Chris is going to keep driving, even though in terms of visual impairment, she should not.
I'm fine. I just can't read the small titles from this far back.
Oh, the small text that might be on road signs. Well, she gets salty when you tell her she shouldn't drive.
I can drive. I have a prescription. I actually get my eyes checked out every year, unlike this person.
This is my transition here. You're stepping all over it. You're salty, right?
Those microplastics found in 90% of table salt. Just like the salt that's flowing through my veins right now.
You think it has microplastics?
Yeah, my blood is like 90% microplastics.
So they tested salt from around the world, and it's all microplasticky.
Which no one really knows what it does to you. So, I mean, I don't know if that's good or bad. Apparently, Korea, was it South Korea that was the worst?
It's bad for sea life, right? Because that's why we had to stop doing the soaps.
No, that's microbeads. Well, those are visible, though.
Well, these are, they got a comparison here. How
a microbead is visible. I don't think a microplastic is.
This is a great shot. Look at this guy.
That's a cool picture.
Just a trash bag. It looks so happy about it. Like, oh, look, I got a bag. But yeah, they're, maybe it was something else I was looking at. But they're very small. And
you're thinking of microbeads, I think. These aren't microbeads.
These are just little shreds.
Yeah.
They're smaller than microbeads, yeah. But I imagine if microbeads are bad for the fish, wouldn't these be bad for the fish?
I would assume so. Yeah. But who knows what it does to you, like why it's bad for you.
I wonder, because I get the... and a lot of people, when I'm in somebody else's house or when I'm at a restaurant, a lot of them have the grinders with the built-in...
Yeah.
But that's made of plastic, right? That's got to be shredding little plastics into our food, don't you think?
I wonder if that's how they tested it. Did they go to the mine and like actually, or did they just get it?
They had a variety of ways to get it. They had sea salt, they had geological salt, and it was all plasticky. So,
Himalayan sea salt?
I don't know if they tested that.
Pink salt?
But it is a problem. It is a health problem, right? Well, I don't know if it's a health problem, but
it might be.
It's something. And you know what else might be a huge health problem?
But maybe it's just something.
Memes.
Memes may contribute to teenage obesity, lawmakers are told. I don't think that's true, but...
So this one's hard to explain. We have to point out that the meme shown here, the jealous girlfriend meme, this was banned. Oh, distracted boyfriend is what it's called.
Yeah.
A country banned this because it's sexist, even though it can work in both directions.
Yeah. Well, and I've seen versions where it's the guy.
Right,
who's
yeah.
angry, yeah.
And along the same line of thinking, it seems to be they think that a lot of because there are a lot of memes that sort of humorously glorify poor eating choices.
Or just poor sleep habits or all kinds of stuff like that.
Depression.
Depression's a big one.
Bad
Sometimes
sleep,
that's a little too dark.
Suicide.
Yeah.
So they're saying all of those things are too influential for the precious teenage minds.
I would maybe point out that memes aren't always reality. But, I mean, it's crazy that you have to explain satire to lawmakers who apparently want to ban memes.
So, yeah. Now, it's interesting because who decides, right? Do we have to have like a national meme council?
A meme council.
Can you imagine? I would love to be on the meme council.
Oh, that'd be weird.
And in our final story, we talked about a lot of robots this episode.
We did.
We talked about self-driving military robots. And the question that you have to ask yourself over and over, when do the robots start killing us? And maybe the first salvo has been fired off by this small robot.
We've taken a step. Parents upset after Stanford Shopping Center security robot injures child. So this is not a great picture here because this thing doesn't look that big in this photo, but it's apparently 5 feet tall and 300 pounds.
Yeah, 5 feet, 300 pounds. So the kid would be relatively small compared to it. Now, this is the kid's foot. You see this thing right here. This is where you can't really... There's a better picture down here somewhere.
Yeah.
You see these little wheels right here? So that's the mark that one of those little wheels made as they knocked over this child and just ruthlessly ran him over.
Which, I have to say, and this is terrible after learning the size of the thing, I was kind of like, I mean, considering how heavy it was, that's not really that bad of a damage.
Well, that's just one wheel. And most of the weight is going to be supported on the other ones as it tips over.
Yeah.
So this is not a big deal. This was just a good lesson for this kid. Don't screw with the robots, right?
Yeah, do you think he went over and thought it was friendly?
Yeah,
or?
He was banging on it. And how little kids are just so clumsy.
Yeah, I love that. That's
and he
cute.
just fell over and the robot, just ran over his
Ran
foot.
right over him.
Yeah, so maybe he should install some more sensors in the robot to prevent that kind of thing. We talked about this was the previous episode. So if you're lost here, you're not watching all the episodes, what's wrong with you?
How dare you?
The house, the old lady house, she had no sensors on her garage doors, the opener. So once you started it, didn't matter what was under it.
Oh, it would just immediately...
Just keep going down. It's like a cardboard box and showed me. It just destroyed it.
And that's why Ryan's not buying that house. Along with the other 100 reasons why that house is terrible.
Yeah, it's bad. But you know what isn't terrible? The Level 1 news. And sadly, we're at the end of it. It's been another week. It was a tough one because we started this episode and the microphone was in the wrong spot. And it's just like, how do you recover from that?
But in the second episode, I couldn't get any words out. I kept stumbling over stuff.
You missed a few in this one, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Stomach's growling.
I think
it's 5 o'clock.
You did mention that you stayed up last night because your dog was misbehaving.
She was. She was fine. She just kept whining. And I let her go get a drink. I took her outside again, and she just kept whining, so she had to sleep in the other room.
Did you think about maybe throwing a couple chicken tendies her way? Settle her down.
I gave her a couple treats. I didn't give her any tendies, though.
Well, we'll see you next week.